Good morning. We are looking at growth hormone physiology, and under this topic, we are going to look at introduction to growth hormone, the chemistry of growth hormone, how growth hormone is regulated, and the action of growth hormone and the pathophysiology of growth hormone. Now, growth hormone is secreted throughout life. It is the single most important hormones for normal growth to adult stature. Okay, considering the broad nature of this task, that is growth, it is not surprising that growth hormone has profound effects on proteins, carbohydrates, and fats, okay, and fat metabolism. So it is secreted throughout life by what we call the anterior pituitary gland, specifically the somatotrops, okay, which are also called the chromophil cells. So therefore, because it's secreted by the somatotrops, it is called somatotrophic or somatotropic hormone. Okay. So once it has been secreted, it moves into circulation, just like any other hormones. Okay, it moves into circulation. So growth hormone is secreted by this. This is called the anterior pituitary gland. Okay. Now the chemistry of growth hormone. Growth hormone is synthesized in the somatotrops of the anterior lobe of the pituitary, and it is also called somatotropin or somatotropic hormone. Not somatostatin. Don't confuse with somatostatin. Growth hormone is called somatotropin. Okay. So, in some books they say it has 190 amino acids, but in some other books they say it has 191 amino acids, which are straight chain polypeptide with 2 internal disulfide bonds. Okay, or 2 internal disulfide bridges. The other hormone which is similar to growth hormone, it's prolactin and also human placental lactogen, which have 191 amino acids, and this other one has 198 amino acids. Okay. Synthesis of growth hormone is stimulated by the growth hormone releasing hormone from the hypothalamus. Now, how is growth hormone regulated? Okay, growth hormone regulation or secretion is in a pulsatile pattern. Okay, it's not continuously. So it's in a pulsatile pattern with a burst of secretion occurring approximately every 2 hours. So the largest secretory bursts occurs within 1 hour of falling asleep, during sleep. Okay. The bursting pattern in terms of both frequency and magnitude is affected by several agents that alter the overall level of growth hormone secretion. So these are the ones we are talking about. We have stimulating factors like the same one, the growth hormone releasing hormone. Okay. And we also have ghrelin, which is a hunger hormone. We also have conditions such as hypoglycemia, fasting, exercise, glucagon, stress, and amino acids. These they will stimulate growth hormone secretion. Other inhibitory factors are somatostatin, not somatotropin, somatostatin, which is also called growth hormone inhibitory hormone. And random rapid eye movement sleep, glucose, cortisol, free fatty acids, growth hormone itself, and insulin-like growth factors, which are called somatomedins. Okay, they also inhibit. We also have medroxyprogesterone. This also inhibit growth hormone secretion. This is a drug used to treat uterus bleeding or menstrual disorders. So we have this diagram which is showing you how growth hormone is regulated. So first of all, at the level of the hypothalamus releases a hormone called growth hormone releasing hormone. which binds to the somatotropes of the anterior pituitary gland, and through certain transduction mechanism it will cause the release of growth hormone, and the growth hormone will bind on target tissues. If it binds on the liver, it will produce these secondary substances which are known as insulin-like growth factors. Okay, these secondary insulin-like growth factors, they are the ones that have indirect effects on bones, causing bone elongation through increased chondrogenesis. But these somatomedins, they have a negative feedback inhibition at the level of the anterior pituitary gland. So therefore, growth hormone will stop being secreted. But that's not enough. The same somatomedins, they can stimulate the hypothalamus to release somatostatin, which is inhibitory. And somatostatin will inhibit the anterior pituitary gland. There will be no secretion of growth hormone. Also, the same growth hormone, it can auto-regulate itself, okay? Whereby when there's excessive secretion of growth hormone, it will bind to the hypothalamus, resulting into secretion of somatostatin, which is called it's an inhibitory factor. Okay, somatotropes release inhibitory factor. Okay. So this basically shows the regulation of growth hormone. So we also need to understand what can result into secretion of growth hormone releasing hormone. We have factors like glucose, random eye movement, sleep. We have hypoglycemia, fasting, starvation. So these will also stimulate the hypothalamus. Okay. So by what mechanism is growth hormone secreted from the somatotropes? It is simple. This is a growth hormone releasing hormone. It binds to the growth hormone releasing hormone receptor, which is a G protein. The alpha subunit of this receptor activate the adenylyl cyclase, which converts ADP or ATP to cyclic AMP. Cyclic AMP is the second messenger. Okay. Cyclic AMP does a lot of things in the inside the cell. It's called an intracellular second messenger. It will increase influx of calcium into the cell, and when calcium enters the cell, it triggers exocytosis of the growth hormone containing vesicles. Apart from that, it also activates protein kinases. Okay, it also activates the protein kinases. The protein kinases will activate the Krebs. Okay, the Krebs is cyclic AMP response element binding protein. Okay, it's cyclic AMP responsive element binding protein. So the protein kinases, when they activate the Krebs, they can increase the synthesis of growth hormone releasing hormone receptor or increase the synthesis of growth hormone. Okay, so the mechanism by which somatotropes secrete growth hormone is via exocytosis or via the activation of adenylyl cyclase. So these is the notes which I'm trying to say. It's adenylyl cyclase converts ATP to cyclic AMP. Cyclic AMP, which is the second messenger, causes activation of protein kinases A. Activation of protein kinases exerts two effects. There's a short-term effects where there's influx of calcium triggering exocytosis. There's a long-term effect, that is increased stimulation of growth hormone releasing hormone receptor gene transcription and growth hormone via activation of the cyclic AMP response element binding protein. Okay. Now, in terms of inhibition, we said that factors like increased glucose concentration, obesity, somatostatin, they'll inhibit the secretion of growth hormone. What's the mechanism? The mechanism by which these factors inhibit is it's just to inhibit the activation of adenylyl cyclase to cyclic AMP. Okay, activation of adenylyl cyclase. Therefore, there will be less production of cyclic AMP. So remember, the major stimulant or the major inhibitor is this. It's called somatotropin releasing inhibitory factor. Okay, this is, we said, it's secreted by the hypothalamus, and it acts on the somatotropes to inhibit growth hormone secretion. So somatostatin inhibits growth hormone secretion by blocking the action of what? By blocking the action of growth hormone releasing hormone on the somatotropes. So somatotropes binds to its own membrane receptor, which is coupled to the adenylyl cyclase by the G inhibitory protein, this one, inhibiting the generation of cyclic AMP and decreasing growth hormone secretion. Okay, so this is the mechanism. So these are just some notes for you to appreciate what we are talking about. And then what's the action of growth hormone? Growth hormone has multiple metabolic actions. Okay, it has multiple metabolic actions on the liver, on the muscle, on adipose tissue and bone, as well as growth promoting action on virtually every other organs. Okay, the action of growth hormone includes effects on linear growth. Okay, like a child is growing into an adult stature. There's also protein synthesis, organ growth. Okay, there's also carbohydrate metabolism and lipid metabolism. So the effects of growth hormone can be categorized into two. There's what we call indirect effect of growth hormone, okay, and the direct effect of growth hormone. The indirect effect of growth hormone occurs through the production of what we call somatomedins, or insulin-like growth factors, okay, in the liver. So the most important of the somatomedins is IGF-1, not IGF-2. So the IGF-1 acts on the target tissue through the IGF receptor that are similar to the insulin receptor we discussed, the tyrosine kinase, okay, increasing the tyrosine kinase activities and exhibiting what we call autophosphorylation. Okay. So these effects can be summarized in this table. It has indirect effect and direct effect. Direct effects of growth hormones are anti-insulin. So we know the actions of insulin. So the function of growth hormone are anti-insulin, the opposite of insulin. So we won't waste much time here. We know the actions of insulin. It will increase lipolysis, growth hormone. It will increase blood glucose in the blood sugar levels. We know insulin causes hypoglycemia. So growth hormone will cause hyperglycemia. So it also acts synergistically with the cortisol. So cortisol, we know, is a stress hormone. So in conditions of stress, cortisol is released so that there is mobilization of nutrients, okay, required for energy production. So that's why there is hyperglycemia in growth hormone effects. Okay, the other indirect effects, it acts on the liver where it produces insulin-like growth factors. And these on the skeleton, it will cause the skeletal growth. On extraskeletal action, it will increase protein synthesis increased cell proliferation. Okay, this is just the same diagram summarizing the effect of growth hormone on the adipose tissue, on the liver, and on the muscle. Okay, so we need to know that growth hormone has diabetogenic effect. Okay, just by looking at the indirect effects of growth hormone, it has diabetogenic effect. That's why people with growth hormone, oversecretion of growth hormone, they are also diabetic symptoms, like appearance of glucose in urine, okay, and excessive production of urine. Now, in terms of pathophysiology of growth hormone, it's important to know that the pathophysiology of growth hormone includes deficiency or excess of the hormone, with predictable effects on linear growth, on organ growth, and on carbohydrate and lipid metabolism. Remember that growth hormone deficiency in children result in failure to grow or short stature. Okay, short stature and mild obesity and delayed puberty. But remember that growth hormone excess causes acromegaly and is the most often due to growth hormone secreting pituitary adenomas. So we'll discuss first the hyperactivity when there is high levels of growth hormone. There is gigantism, acromegaly, gigantism, and Cushing disease. Okay. What are the characteristics of gigantism? Just from the word giants. Signs are huge stature. Giants are hyperglycemic and glycosuric. And if it's due to tumor, constant headache, visual disturbances, it compresses the lateral fibers of the optic chiasma, okay, leading to bitemporal hemianopia, which is partial blindness. Okay, we can see a picture of gigant. Okay, these are the siblings. Okay, but look at excessive growth. This is due to hyperactivity of the growth hormone. Okay, there's also acromegaly. Acromegaly, yes, it is associated with it's usually associated with growth hormone secreting pituitary tumor. Okay, the consequences of excess growth hormone differ depending on whether the excess occurs before or after puberty. So, before puberty, excess levels of growth hormone causes gigantism. That is increased linear growth because of intense hormonal stimulation at the epiphyseal plates. But after puberty, when linear growth is complete and can no longer be influenced, excess level of growth hormone causes periosteal bone growth, increased organ size, increased hands and foot size, enlargement of the tongue, facial features, insulin resistance, and hypertension, headache. So this is hypersecretion of growth hormone, but in adults. Okay. So we can even show this in form of a picture here. In acromegaly, there's gorilla-like faces. Okay. And apart from that, there's hyperactivity of anterior pituitary gland. It will result into dwarfism, acromegaly. Acromegaly is a rare disease characterized by atrophy of the extremities of the body, and dwarfism is pituitary disorder in children characterized by stunted growth. And Simon disease is a rare pituitary disease. It's called pituitary cachexia. It occurs mostly in panhypopituitarism, that is hypersecretion of all the anterior pituitary hormones due to atrophy or generation of the anterior pituitary gland. Okay, so these are hyperactivity of the anterior pituitary gland. So as you can see, that is a picture of dwarfism. Okay, so this is where I end, but remember that the causes of growth hormone deficiency includes defects at every step in the hypothalamic anterior pituitary axis. Okay, decreased secretion of growth hormone releasing hormone due to the hypothalamic dysfunction. There's also primary deficiency of growth hormone and secretion from the anterior pituitary. There can also be failure to generate somatomedins in the liver and deficiency of growth hormone or somatomedins receptors in target tissues. Growth hormone deficiency in children is treated with human growth hormone replacement. So it's important to understand the normal physiology for us to appreciate the physiology, the pathophysiology. Okay, so this is about growth hormone. Thank you very much.